Hi, friends. Welcome back to Live at the Roxy. I missed Sunday. Sorry. Life was lifing. But here I am for Wednesday. It's a little late. Late's better than never. And here she goes. I watched all 4 episodes of the Diddy doc, the 50 Cent Sean Combs Netflix 4-part docu-series, with each part being over an hour long. And I was like, I got to talk to my people about this because there was a lot. So we'll talk about that. Also, television stuff. Best episode of the year, It Welcome to Derry. I got a beautiful note from the producer of the show who watched my reaction to that. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about that I felt really happy about. And then anything going on in your guys' world, anything going on in my world. I feel extremely drained today. I guess we could talk about that as well, but very drained. I got my nails done today, and usually my nails last for 3 weeks. So I got Hanukkah nails, which aren't really Hanukkah nails, but they're like kind of like a blue glitter, which made me feel like a little Hanukkah-y. I was going to get a blue nail with a white Jewish star, but you just can't be out here wearing a Jewish star and feel safe. And so usually when I have my necklace on, I'm able to tuck it in, but on your nails, I would have to. I just was like, Rox, just don't even make your life harder right now. So that, yeah, give me energy. Give me energy. I kind of need it. I have a long night ahead of me, and I'm having difficulty recently getting everything done. And then, as a girlfriend of mine pointed out, I think I struggle around the holidays a lot in general, just with like sadness and trying to perk up. So yeah, there's just a lot of shit going on. So anyway, those are some of the things we're talking about today. Streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer. Super chat in, questions, comments, concerns, things that are going on with you. What are you guys doing for the holidays? How's your December going so far? Did you watch the Diddy doc? Do you give a shit about it? Are you over talking about the Diddy situation? I don't mean to call it situation to belittle how horrific it is, but just curious. All right, my friends, let's jump into it. I feel like I wish I could be right now be like, what's up, friends? Let's go, rock stars. Welcome back to the show. Here we go. Let's go, friends. Hell yeah. Okay. It's going to be another great show today here. We're talking X, Y, Z, and C. Y, C after Z, just cuz, baby. And yet instead, I think that would kill me today. So, I just can't. And will not. I also have to be up tomorrow at like 5:30 because I am going to cover the Supergirl trailer dropping at Real Rejects. Real Rejects is like an hour and a half away from my house, and I need to be camera ready, and I need to be there early. I think it drops tomorrow at 9. So, and then I'm doing 3 other shoots there tomorrow. So I've got a long day ahead of me tomorrow. And I have a long night ahead of me tonight. I was looking at Steph's Instagram post today because Steph posted on her story somebody I don't know, and it's very rare Steph posts anybody I don't know. She posted hair now, and so then I went to Steph's profile just to stalk her because she's bestie girl. And I went to her most recent post, which is so fucking cute, by the way. She just looks so beautiful. And the song is minding my goddamn business. I was minding my goddamn business. And something I'm not good at is minding my goddamn business, but that song is a banger. Yes, Britt. Listen, we're gonna meet you where you're at. Says no worries, we got you. Thank goodness. Sometimes I just fucking need that. Sometimes I just fucking need people to meet me where I'm at. And yeah, one thing that I will say is that, as you guys know, I'm newly seeing somebody. In a week, it will have been 2 months. So It's on the newer side, and I like don't like anybody to see me when I'm not at my chippiest, when I'm not feeling super chipper. And I'm sure that he would meet me where I'm at, but he's like, "Can I come see you tonight whenever you're done with work?" And I'm just like, I like feel like the beginning is so good to be protective of like kind of who you are and showing up as your best self. And I just like don't feel like my fucking best self today. Maybe you guys have thoughts on that. Anyway, you guys have thoughts on any of this stuff. So minding my goddamn business. I was minding my goddamn business. Those of you guys who are watching on your cell phones, you don't see the chat of the YouTube watchers and vice versa. So maybe dual watch or don't. Oh no. PCs are weird, man. I just started moving all this stuff and then all these things started happening. I'm just going to ignore that. All right. Let's talk. Let's talk turkey. Now let's talk about the Sean Combs doc. So for those of you guys who do not know, there was a Sean Combs doc that was put on Netflix. It's 4 parts, and each part is over an hour. I think that's accurate. Let's actually get the run times. It feels long, and I was talking to somebody today who was like, it was extremely repetitive, and I kind of think that that's a fair assessment, except for the fact that the reason it seems repetitive is because he was so bad to so many people in the same way that we kind of hear the same story over and over again, just with a different name. And that's so fucked up because each one of those people matters. But like, there's so many SA situations that it is, of course, repetitive. There's so many times where he screwed people out of money that it is repetitive. There's so many physical abuse allegations that it is repetitive. There's so many people he took advantage of that it is repetitive. It's like 4 hours of the same story, different people over and over and over and over and over again. And that, I think, is going to make a lot of people not want to finish watching this. But unfortunately, the first episode is all about like his rise to fame. And it is the most different of the episodes. So I think people prefer that one because it's not just like such a downer. But the point is what a fucking downer this is. So curious how many people are actually watching this. I watched it so that you don't have to, and I can tell you kind of what I learned. But I do recommend watching it if you want to know more. I will say this. I was pretty well versed on this case. You guys know I have a personal connection to it, as well as the fact that I was watching and in the media and reporting on it with you guys a little bit. So I will say that there was not anything in here that really shocked me. This was all information that I knew. It was just doing a great job of laying out the amount of people and things, and the variety of things. You know, it's not just a joke about the lube. Like, this is real people, real people's lives that were destroyed, real people's careers who were destroyed, and a lot of the people who have names that are huge that we know. So again, I'll get into more specifics, but out of the show people, you guys in the chat, how many of you guys watched Sean Combs' The Reckoning? And how many of you guys have a love for 50 Cent now more than usual, which is hard to say because I always love 50. I also saw a clip of Chelsea Handler talking about dating 50 Cent recently, which she just said, like, he's the sweetest man. Not that they're dating now, but you guys know they used to. Okay, did not see it. Did not see it. Did not see it. Huh. Okay, that's a lot of you. All right. Well, I got you. Oh, Ozzy. You've seen it. Well, then me and you, let's tell the people. Let's talk about what happened. And you guys feel free to ask questions. And again, about this or whatever you want, we'll do it. Streamlabs.com/RoxyStryer super chat in. Okay, so the first episode, like I said, really focuses on Diddy, his upbringing with his mom, and possible abuse of him in his upbringing, and the origins of Bad Boy Records, and like kind of going from being Sean Combs to being Puff Daddy. The way that Netflix described it is, how did a kid from New York transform himself into a powerful hip hop mogul? The origins of Bad Boy Records reveal how Sean Combs became Puff Daddy. Episode 2. So episode 1 is called Pain versus Love. Episode 2 is What Goes Down Must Come Up. As Puffy embraces celebrity lifestyle, he fuels a dangerous rivalry with Death Row Records. Questions linger about the shooting of Tupac Shakur. So this is where the doc really started to pick up for me. Now, anybody who has followed hip-hop rivalries throughout time knows about the rivalry between Biggie and Tupac, and therefore the people that were behind Biggie and Tupac, including Diddy, who was very close with Biggie, who I say he was very close with Biggie, although a lot of people in this doc question how close they actually were, but theoretically. And this doc seems to believe, this doc makes a case for Diddy being involved in the murder of Tupac. And I think that a lot of people think that this is very likely, that Diddy is involved in the murder of Pac. And part of the reason why Diddy didn't want the murder of Biggie investigated as much is because he believed it might lead back to him with the murder of Pac. That seems to be a point of view that this doc has based on the people that they interview, and the people that they interview having that belief, although nobody confirms it and there is no evidence. There is no physical evidence presented towards that except for hearsay and people, his closest people around him's thoughts. And they paint a picture that's pretty compelling that left me to believe it's very likely. Unfortunately, it also left me to believe that it is very unlikely that it will ever come to light what happened to Pac. So, to Young Chazy in the chat, who says, I still have questions about the death of Biggie. Was it really a good idea to go to the West Coast 6 months after Pac died? That's actually addressed in this doc by the people that are being interviewed about why 6 months after Pac died, even with Pac's crew saying to Diddy and Biggie, do not come out here, do not, why they did go out there, and Diddy being the driving factor behind that. And then Biggie even was supposed to leave to go to the UK for a show, and Pac saying you're not allowed to leave. We're throwing a party on their turf. So they do go into that a little bit, and that kind of stuff. The hip hop rivalries are interesting to me, but they're also really sad because you think about, I mean, Pac is one of the greatest artists of all time, and it's unbelievably sad that he was taken so soon, and also the way that the media portrayed it. Like, even in the media when Pac died, it was like controversial music figure Tupac Shakur has been murdered. Controversial music figure. And it's like the way that things were described about him were challenging. And also, I think people believed that Biggie had a lot of power, and this documentary seems to take the perspective that Biggie had no power. Diddy had all the power, and Diddy was forcing Biggie's hand. And, believe that or not, that's what this doc paints a picture of. So let's see. Vulture kind of broke down some of the takeaways also. And when it comes to the Pac stuff, this is what they said. We'll probably never know for sure if Combs was involved in Tupac Shakur's death. In the second episode, What Goes Up Must Come Down, a significant amount of the time is spent breaking down the death of both Tupac and Biggie and discussing whether Combs had involvement, direct or otherwise. Former LAPD detective Greg Kading, who was on the task force to investigate Shakur's death, details how and why it's been so difficult to nail down one responsible party for the murder. Quote, gang crimes are often difficult to solve because you don't get cooperating witnesses, end quote, he says. However, Kading had long conversations with Dwayne Keith Davis, also known as Keefy D, who had been charged with Shakur's death. Davis alleged he spoke to Combs multiple times, including on one occasion where Combs apparently said he'd give anything for those dudes' heads, referring to Shakur and Suge Knight. Combs has never been charged with anything in connection with Shakur's death, and Davis now alleges that proffer conversation he had with LAPD was under duress, inviting doubt into the little we know about the case. So it's interesting because it does feel like this was really a Diddy Suge Knight beef, and in the Diddy Suge Knight beef, the two people who ended up dead were Tupac and Biggie. Again, this is all alleged, and clearly what the doc is doing is not making like statements and facts. This is what happened. They're exploring possibilities that seem likely based on the people that they are interviewing, which I think they did a very good job about. Streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer, super chatting, questions, comments, concerns. So that was that was the second episode and what that episode was about. And I do think that it's crazy because I thought that this 4-part series was going to be about his trial, was going to be about Diddy and the charges against him and the ultimate result of those charges. But that is not what this was about. We hadn't even, by the end of episode 2, we had not touched upon that, except for at the end of every episode, text comes across the screen that says, currently, P. Diddy has been convicted of XYZ and is serving 50 months in prison, or some text like that. So that's the only time it was mentioned up to this point. Episode 3 is called Official Girl. After Biggie's death, Diddy's career skyrockets alongside a string of violent incidents. Alarming allegations emerge about abusive relationships. So during this episode, we see that Biggie's death catapults Diddy's career, and Diddy really uses that. Now, some people might say that they were best friends and he was mourning and using that to make art. What this doc seems to take the perspective of is that Diddy and Biggie were not as actually close as they seemed. Biggie had issues with Diddy, but was under his thumb, and Diddy used this to monetize. And for example, Biggie's funeral, Diddy said that he was going to throw in the biggest funeral that New York's ever seen, but then to pay for the funeral, he took it out of Biggie's cut, which would have gone to his family, as opposed to actually paying for it, which is what he was making it seem like he was doing. So things like that. Okay, and then episode 4 is called Blink Again. Combs' accusers step forward with shocking claims of abuse, triggering a federal investigation that leads to his 2024 arrest and high-profile trial. So it's really parts of episode 3 and episode 4 that really do focus on the SA allegations. Now, throughout this, we also go deeper into the world of Cassie. We see the footage that we've all seen of Diddy kicking the crap out of Cassie. We see other women come forward and talk about their stories. We see men come forward and talk about their assault stories from Diddy. And the one that I was the most, I don't want to say caught off guard by, but the one that was like so effective to me So, I'm not doing a great job with my words, guys, because it's hard to, like, I don't want to say it like it's trivial because it's not. So I don't mean effective as in it was good. I just mean you guys know what I mean. Was Audrey O'Day, who was part of Danity Kane, and what essentially ends up happening with the Audrey O'Day, Sam says my face right now. I know I'm not speaking perfectly, Sam. I'm sorry, but it's because it does get you flustered, and also it's difficult to speak about these things without talking about it like these are real human beings. And Audrey O'Day is a real human being, and she is being interviewed in this doc. And essentially, what ends up happening is that somebody comes forward and says that they walked in and saw Audrey O'Day completely out of it, almost passed out, and they saw Diddy with his genitals in her mouth, or inside her, and another man with his dick in her mouth, and they were 100% positive that it was Audrey O'Day and that she was really out of it. So what Audrey O'Day says in this doc is that she feels like a little bit her back's against the wall. To paraphrase, she doesn't remember this. She doesn't want to remember this. This woman kind of twists her arm a little bit, and that came forward that saw this, in the sense that Audrey's like, if I come out and say this didn't happen, which I don't remember, then it causes a hole in the entire Diddy investigation because it sounds like people aren't telling the truth. But she was like, but I don't remember it, and I don't really want to spend time trying to think about this because I wasn't somebody who even really drank. So like I wouldn't. Sorry, I keep saying Aubrey. Sorry. Thank you, Mel. I know that like the back of my hand. Why my little dyslexic brain right now is saying Audrey is beyond me, but Aubrey, my bad. Loved her. I watched her show, Making of the Band. I was like a Danity Kane listener. This was one of the most disturbing parts of the doc because she says at one point, she was like, was I raped? I don't even know. And like, how fucked is that? And you feel for her because other people are telling her what's happened to her and she does not fucking know. And it's 20 years ago. And she does talk about like how it was working with Diddy, but this aspect is not something she's able to talk about. So that part was very, very disturbing and upsetting to me. I think she did a really beautiful job of still participating in this doc, but also telling her truth. And yeah, she was just very, very strong in it. Okay. So let's see. The other takeaways that Vulture had, they said the hotel footage at the start of the episode was obtained legally, but ultimately doesn't show us much. In 2024, Sean Combs hired a videographer to take some footage ahead of his arrest. These scenes include Combs berating lawyer Mark Agnifilo on the phone ahead of the arrest for their strategy not working, getting dressed and biking through Manhattan. Spokesperson for Combs alleged that the footage was stolen ahead of the film's release, but Netflix and Stapleton have said otherwise. It came to us. We obtained the footage legally and have necessary rights. We moved heaven and earth to keep the filmmaker's identity confidential. One thing about Sean Combs is that he's always filming himself, and it's been an obsession throughout the decades. That is the statement on that. That kind of outsized reaction from Combs' team suggests that the somewhat dull footage is significant in some way, salacious, revealing. Ultimately, it's not much of either. If it's true that Combs spent much of his life being filmed, then he knows exactly how much of himself to reveal when he's on camera. His conversations with Agnifilo are most telling because it feels like he knows he's at the end of the line. So this footage wasn't really that relevant, except for the fact that he is pissed with his team. He's like, we need to come up with other strategies, and we need to, like, it was all about how to paint him and in what light. And ultimately, they did that. For him to, after all of the things that it does appear that he did, get 50 months is nothing. It was a huge, huge win for him. And so that was another takeaway from Vulture. This was an interesting part of the doc as well, especially as we spent the entire first episode focusing on his music career. This says former associates loves talking about how bad Combs was and is at making. If there's anything even remotely lighthearted about the Sean Combs The Reckoning, it's listening to former bad boy associates and clients reflect on Combs' desire to be a rapper himself without having any natural talent for it. Quote, can you talk about his skills as a rapper? End quote, Stapleton asked. Quote, Bad Boys for Life rapper Mark Curry, Bad Boy for Life rapper Mark Curry said, quote, sucks, end quote. He answers concisely. R&B artist Al B. Sure reiterates this right after saying, quote, Combs had zero talent musically, nothing. You don't know nothing about R&B, none of that stuff, end quote. Curry explains his reasoning a little bit further by sharing memories of their time together in the recording studio. Quote, he used to ask me to always be there in sessions because I would tell the truth. I'd be like, that's not it. That sucked. It doesn't sound good and it makes no sense. End quote. I do think that people who lack talent oftentimes are very jealous and angry. And it makes sense that he was, one of the themes of the doc is that he was always trying to put other people down. Even people that he was trying to lift up, he was still trying to put down. One of the things that we see time and time again is that he's not paying people, and it's because he wants to keep them under his thumb, and he doesn't want them to be able to break free because they have their own money. So he's not paying them, and he's giving them fame but not fortune, which leaves them tied to him. And I think that when you don't have skill yourself, sometimes you really take that out on the people around you, and you try to desperately hold on to them. Let's see what's going on with you guys in the Streamlabs and in the super chat, and we'll keep going back to this. Dan the Man 3546 says, we appreciate everything you do, Roxy. You're not worried Diddy will come after anyone who watches the doc when he gets out? Still have my support. I am worried about that, of course. Listen, as I talk about all this, it is, of course, alleged, and it is scary, but one of the reasons that I think it's important to talk about, and I'm not here to slam anybody. I'm here to talk about, as I talk about movies and television, and I talk about a lot of movies and television, I'm here to talk about what this doc said so that you guys know what the doc said. I think it's important to talk about because I do think that there are people whose lives have not been able to move on, and not just with the Diddy situation, but with a lot of situations in general in the entertainment industry where there is power struggles that go from all different ends of the spectrum, whether it has to do with SA or whether it is physical abuse or whether it is mental abuse. And one of the things that we continue to see in this doc specifically is how many people around him allegedly knew exactly what was going on. And we also saw that with, for example, Ghislaine Maxwell with Jeffrey Epstein. And we also saw that in the NXIVM case. And we also saw, like, when it comes to cults and entertainment industry and billionaires and high power execs, it is not just one person. One person is usually at the center, and then it's everybody around them who just is too afraid or becomes similar to them to come out. So yeah, of course it's scary, and I don't think it's the smartest move on planet Earth to be talking about something publicly that when we know that this is a person who, or when allegedly this is a person who goes after anybody who's talked about him publicly. I intend to never be a bystander. It's not who I am. And so I think it's worth talking about. It's an interesting question, though, and thank you for it. We also have Sexy Andrews as, hey, the most beautiful woman with glasses, Roxy. You were great on Just Podcast talking about your movie. You and Jess also looked hot in the podcast. Thank you so much, my dear. For those of you guys who do not know, my friend Jess Lucero has an awesome show called Plus One with Jess Lucero. It's on YouTube. It's on Spotify. It was great to go on. We talked all about Wildcat, and we talked about other things too, and just my career, going to USC, the move out here, Always Lola, starting AfterBuzz, just a ton of stuff. She does a great job. She's an excellent interviewer, and it was really cool to be invited on her show where she's had way bigger people than me. And we had a good time. So go check out that episode, leave a comment, say that that I'm the shit, or don't. Whatever you guys feel like. All right, let's go into the Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer. Mike Joyce with our first Streamlabs of the day says, you mentioned on Plus One that your character Jody had a full backstory. Are there any interesting details about her that you remember and that you'd be willing to share? Interesting question, Mike. Thank you for listening to the show. I'm glad that some of you guys did check out Plus One. Did you guys watch it on YouTube or did you listen to it on Spotify? I know that Spotify are where her big numbers are, but I just hit my glasses. Let me think. A lot of my backstory, for those of you guys who haven't watched, and this might not make sense, but a lot of my backstory had to do with what I felt like it was like when I had worked with Ada, Kate Beckinsale's character. And so I had decided that we had previously worked together when she was at the club. That is apparent. We had a little bit of a rough go. I think that I know that her relationship with Sia, I think I have a big fat crush on Sia or whatever version of that there is. So I think there's a lot of jealousy there. There's some more specifics I could get into with the backstory, but I'll kind of leave it more like that. But that was some of the stuff that I kind of worked on, really what my relationship with Sia was, what my relationship with Ada was, how long I had known them, what I knew about them, all of that. So those were some of the things. And that's not even something that's like approved script wise. That's just things that I was trying to put into the character of why I was so protective. Yes, him. There's a hint of gay. For sure. For sure. I mean, gay, jealous, annoyed, all of that. RQMDSMD in the Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer says, hi, Roxy, just sending some support. Thank you for that huge support, man. I haven't been big on holidays since my parents passed 30 years ago, just trying to get through them for my wife and her family. I totally feel you on this, man. It's like my 30 years is a long time, and you definitely trump me, but my mom has been gone since 2011. It's a long time. And yet I found myself like so sad today, just thinking that I don't ever get to celebrate the holidays with her ever again. And, you know, like if one day I have kids, they don't ever get to celebrate with their grandma, and just like not being able to call her. And also something came up today where I was kind of annoyed about it. And I was like, oh my God, she would give me the perfect advice. And I just, yeah, that's just, man, it sucks. And it doesn't go away. And some years it's like happier than other years. And then some years it's just like, fuck. And this year I actually don't think I'm going to manage to go home. I was supposed to go home for my niece's birthday, but it's just too expensive. And like, my niece is going to be leaving like a day after her birthday. So I wouldn't be able to see her that long. And I was just there a month ago and less than that. And I'm just like, ugh, how do I kind of justify this? So I think it's also hard when you're not going home and you're not seeing family for that time. And yeah, but I'm glad that you're with your wife and that you're doing this for her family. And sometimes fake it till you make it's the move. Like, even though you don't like the holidays, like try to find the things that don't drive you nuts, whether that's like a specific food or a song that you like to listen to or whatever. And just like fake that smile until it actually feels real. That might not be good advice, but that is my advice. I love that Sam's gaydar was going off. Of course it was, Britt. Sam, you clocked that. And those are the fun things about being an actress. Like, that had nothing to do with most people's viewing experience. But if you see like some of my side looks and you see who I'm rushing to, those are all things that are written in the script. Like, Jody gets on her knees next to Sia and lifts her up or whatever. And then as an actress, you get to interpret that as like, why am I going above and beyond for this? Why am I so protective over this person? And what is their relationship? And it was giving jealous to me, even though never in the script does it say she is jealous. To me, I'm like, that's how people act when they are jealous. And why would I be jealous? Because I'm not getting that attention, because XYZ. So I'm glad that you picked up on that, Sam. Yeah, I don't even think I was so subtle about it, but I don't know that other people would ever clock that. Paleo in the Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/RoxyStrider says, how are you feeling about the Patriots season so far? Are you following Ann Michael May's Bakemas series on TikTok? I have been following her, is that what it's called? Her making stuff for Drake, because she's great. The comments crack me up, and like everybody being like, you better feed him well. I'm loving the Patriots season. It's like almost a funny question. How am I feeling about the Patriots season so far? Shocked, elated, on cloud nine, confused, excited. Like this week, having a bye week, I was like, this sucks. I hate a bye week. I mean, I want it for them, but I was like, on Sunday, I was so ready to sit my ass down and watch the Patriots. So, and we didn't get them the Sunday before because they had Monday night. So it's like 2 weekends in a row without the Patriots on Sunday. It was a bummer. So that, yeah. Thank you for asking, Paleo. And Drake May we trust. I want his jersey. I love him. All right. Shall we go back to a little bit of the Diddy stuff? Honestly, it's kind of like what the majority of the summary is. But if you guys have any questions on it, let me know. Let's see. Vulture also said an explanation for why 50 Cent's involved. Chris Jackson, otherwise known as 50 Cent, pops up in the credits of every single episode. Quote, if I didn't say anything, you would interpret it as hip hop is fine with his behaviors, end quote. He told ABC News ahead of the series release. Jackson and Combs, however, have been feuding since 2006, when the former alleged the latter had a role in Biggie Smalls' death. In October 2024, Jackson has said he's been fighting this fight against Combs for a decade. To see his name in credits as an executive producer of the project goes to show how the world finally caught up. It's absolutely true. Another part of the doc was about the Cudi stuff. I know I talked about the Cassie stuff, but specifically, this went more into the Cudi stuff and how that happened. There is a woman involved who used to work with Diddy, who alleges that he kidnapped her and made her go with him to go attempt to kill Kid Cudi, and that was not something that she wanted to do, and that's like alleged kidnapping. And that they got to Cudi's place, and that she called Cassie and was like, where are you? And Cassie was like, we're not, Cudi's with me. And Diddy was like, I won't trade her. She can't get released until we go see Cassie. And then Diddy apparently kicked the living crap out of Cassie. Again, alleged, but we saw that footage. So that's another reason we're like talking about it is kind of different now, because how is he going to claim that the footage that, we all saw the footage? Dan the Man in the stream super chat says, both of you are in my prayers. Graham will always be with you and future kids. No, but this is my mom. Y'all will see her again. Keep the faith. But I guess it would be their grandma. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. You guys are so lovely in the chat today. Thanks for being here. I probably won't be here that much longer on account of the fact that I have so much to do tonight and such an early morning. But I do want to take a little time and just continue talking to you guys, just in case you guys need or want anything else. So send in any final things about what's going on in your life, or questions on the Diddy doc, or things on my life. And while I wrap out, I'll tell you guys that I think that Welcome to Gary episode 7 was one of the best TV episodes probably like ever, but definitely of this year. Apparently the next one is even better. I'm actually watching it tomorrow, so I'm excited about that. I'm doing that after. So tomorrow I'm doing Supergirl, and then I'm watching that, and then I'm watching a couple other things that I don't know that they've announced, so I won't say. But I just love Rejects. I love it over there. I get excited when I have work. How many people get to say that? Not excited for how far it is in the drive in the morning traffic, but I am excited for what I do, which is great. Peter says, if women and men knew about his rep, why get involved with him? I'm trying to understand. I think that the doc does a pretty good job of talking about this. Number one, I don't think people got involved with him knowing about his rep typically. Like they might know he's a little challenging, but not the specifics of it. And then also because they were scared, because they were promised things. It's the same reason why anybody gets involved with anybody who's not great. And for in terms of why they stayed, I think a lot of people tried to leave, and especially like the deeper in you're hearing, the more you think that he might actually really kill you. I keep saying allegedly, but you guys understand why. To me, I didn't question a single person like, why did you start getting involved with him? Because that makes sense. He's one of the most successful people on planet Earth. Streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer. Thank you, by the way, to those of you who have super chatted and Streamlabs and support the show. This is a fan-funded show. It's entirely fan-funded. Without you guys, I couldn't be here. So thank you to, shout out again to Andrew Thomas and Dan the Man and Son of Vader and Paleo and RQMDSMD and Mike Joyce. Streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer. Scott Welsh says, hey, Roxy, how did you enjoy your first NHL game? Thank you for asking. The guy that I am seeing took me to a hockey game. It was really fun. I love hockey. Go figure. I would think I did. It like goes along with my Boston soul to love hockey. I like beer. I like seeing people hit each other. Hockey's a cool sport. It's pretty easy to follow. It's cooler to follow in person because it's so easy to see. I'm blind. I still could. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. He got these awesome VIP tickets. So we got like servers came to our seat and we had lounge access. He kind of went all out, which was so kind. We went beforehand to get drinks. I decided that it was going to be a whiskey day for me because I feel like whiskey and hockey are perfect together. And so, yeah, just really, really enjoyed myself. And couldn't have been cooler that he did that. I love that he listened to what I told I'd never been to a game. And then he just kind of took care of the rest. And that was, came and picked me up from my place, drove us there, like just very, very attractive behavior. Very kind too. The game was kind of empty. There was a lot of open seats. I was shocked. I don't know whether it's because hockey is not as popular or whether people didn't want to go to the LA-Chicago game or what, but yeah, I had a lot of fun and a lot of drinks and so much enjoyment. The Kings beat the shit out of the Chicago, so the LA crowd was like living. Although there was as many Chicago people there as there was LA people there, I feel. I wore a Kings hat because I was a little poser girl, and I didn't feel like that was going against my Boston roots. It wasn't like wearing a Lakers hat, which I would never do. But the Kings aren't rivals of the Bruins, so I feel like that's fine. Yeah. Thank you for the question. So sweet for wondering. Appreciate you. You know what I liked even more? Well, not even more, but the next day we had more of an impromptu day, and we went to Malibu, and he wanted to show me his favorite beer. So we went to a place in Malibu that had his favorite beer, which was very good. And then we went like towards the beach and just a very chill, relaxing day. And it was nice to like go on a longer drive with a guy that I have a crush on and, you know, be in the car and kind of feel like more like real life. It was very cool. Something that was a little scary though was I haven't been to Malibu since the fires. And so it was so sad driving there. It looks completely different. It looks completely different. It's all the landmarks that I knew are gone. There's like these big metal poles all throughout the sides of the road. It's empty. It just, I felt it was so sad. And it was nice once we were at the places that we were going. Those have been built back up and look really good. But the drive there was like, it was kind of giving me a little sadness because of the memories. I hadn't been, and I used to go to Malibu like 2 or 3 times a week, and now I haven't been, and it's been almost a year because the fires were in January. So 11 months. It's going to just take forever to build up. Son of Vader, what are you expecting from the Supergirl trailer? Interesting question. I think that the Supergirl trailer actually has a lot on its shoulders because a lot of people watched the TV show and they're used to one type of Supergirl. But then they saw Superman and they were like, who the fuck is this Supergirl? And why is she like a party animal? And I think that that's a fair question unless you have read Woman of Tomorrow and then you kind of know more about it. But, you know, she's being scrutinized for everything right now. So I'm really looking forward to, I reread Woman of Tomorrow a few months ago, I think, and I'm looking forward to being introduced to the Ruth character. I think we'll find in the trailer, who will be a big deal. I kind of want to see like where we are, what planets the trailer shows. I want to see if Crypto's involved in the trailer. I want to kind of see Millie Alcock for more than a second, and like, is she debaucherous or what's the vibe there? Yeah, and I think that they also have heavy lifting to do in terms of introducing the villain, which I would say the majority of people watching this trailer aren't going to know who Krem is. So I think that they'll be in good shape if they, and also like how we got to see Lobo, like how is he involved? So I think a lot of showing of the characters and the relationships, who, where, what, kind of would be great. Now, are we going to get all that in a first trailer? Perhaps not. This movie isn't coming out for another 6 months, so maybe not, but I think that would be good for them to give a little lay of the land. Hopefully that answers your question. Is it a trailer or a teaser trailer? I don't know. I think it's the first trailer. And kind of what's the difference these days, especially if it's over 2 minutes, but who am I to say? In the streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer, RQMDSMD says Roxy looked so broken at the point in the end, in episode 7 of It. Felt so bad for you. It looked like you just couldn't wait to get to the end of the show. I've been really questioning RQMDSMD, like why that broke me to the extent that it did, but it did. I mean, I was just fucked up. And I think it's because of a million reasons. Like, it's because of all the fucking child deaths that we've seen this year. And it's because of all the times that we've seen adults not give a flying fuck. And it's because of every man that hasn't stood up for his lady. And it's because of the age. And it's because of the love and it's because of so many things that I was just like fucked up over that. But that's how you know they did it well. That's how you know. So it was really cool that the producers watched our reaction. I was really happy about that because I want them to know, like, they crushed it. It was perfect. Just, ugh. Anyway. All right. I think that's it. Thanks for being here with me, friends. All right. Well, on that note, stay safe, stay sane. Put down the toilet seat and live. We don't want those plumes. Don't trend with the Holocaust. Justice for all the people who lost their lives due to excessive force. My body, my choice. Forever in the rainbow, we love you. We stand with the women of Iran, some of the bravest women we've ever seen. Golden sparkles for the Zen one himself. Glenn, we're thinking about you always. Son of Vader says, is it hard doing the podcast and trying to work? What do you mean? The podcasts are part of work. So what do you mean by that? Do you mean in trying to act? Do you mean hosting stuff and acting stuff at the same time? Let me know if that's what your question means. Dan the Man 3546 says, language, JK, do you? Did I swear? I don't even know when I do it. just so part of my vocabulary. It was part of my parents always, we grew up learning that those are just expressive words, do whatever. Acting jobs, Son of Vader said yes. Really good question. Yes. Luckily, I've worked at all these places for so long that, like, for example, when I booked the Kate Beckinsale movie, Real Rejects gave me my 2 weeks off to go there and covered for me. What's really difficult is that the acting jobs pay so much less than the hosting jobs. So every time I take an acting job, I'm taking a significant pay cut. So it's hard to live off of those. And also because I'll be on set for, 2 weeks every few months, a week every few months, couple days, and it's just not sustainable that way. So it's hard to turn down the hosting gigs, and I also love the hosting gigs, but it's also hard to full-time pursue acting full-time, even though I am. But, like, is it true that if I had all the money in the world and I didn't have to do anything else and I could just pursue acting, that I think I'd be further along? Probably. Because if you had all the money in the world and you didn't need to make any money and I could just sit there and self-submit, tape, but it's just not a luxury I have. And then, like Sam just mentioned, also I'm a caretaker. So, like, there's not a day I'm not with Grammy or Gisela. And so that's a lot. So it's definitely hard. But I do think that one itch scratches the other a little bit. Like, the reason that I booked this Kate Beckinsale movie, as I talked about in my Wildcat interview with Jess Lucero, is because I knew the producer from when he booked me for my first movie, Madness in the Method, which he booked me because he saw me hosting a show. So sometimes those things go hand in hand. Or, like, the reason I booked Crust is because I hosted a show with Sean Whalen. So sometimes it helps and sometimes it hurts. And we have another coming through, streamlabs.com/Roxy Strider. Also another super chat, Roman F460, Roman Fedaro, sending positive vibes your way. Thank you, my dude. Appreciate you. Thank you. And printed on Roxy in the Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/Roxy Strider says, Team Strider. Hell yeah, Lloyd. Appreciate you, my dude. Son of Vader says, are you concerned about Netflix? What do you mean? Coming after me because of talking about the Diddy talk? Or do you mean the Netflix potential purchase of Warner Brothers? Or do you not mean either of those? Or do you just mean my concern about Netflix in general and the rising price? Let a girl know. What do you mean? Son of Vader, purchases Warner Brothers. Yeah. Talked about this on Christian Harloff's show if you want a more in-depth conversation, but yes, I am. I think it's the better option as opposed to Paramount, but I'm super concerned. I'm concerned on a personal level because I think less companies, less job opportunities. I'm concerned as a person who loves film and television that the merger, all of these mergers are very bad for creativity's sake. But again, right now I'm rooting for them, which is crazy. Rooting for Netflix to buy WB because it beats the alternative. As I said on Christian's show, it's like you're telling me I can eat a shit sandwich. Which one do I want? And this is the shit sandwich that has salt and pepper and garlic powder. So at least it's like masking the shit, as opposed to Paramount, which is a shit sandwich with nothing. And you just have to taste the shit. Yeah, I did talk about it on Only Stupid Answers extensively as well with DJ Wooldridge, if you want to check that, and on Christian Harloff's show. But that's my brief answer. All right, my friends. Thanks for being here. Much love. And I will see you on Sunday, but also Real Rejects tomorrow for the Supergirl trailer and for another thing of mine. And Friday, only Stupid Answers. So I'm all around all the time. Later, rock stars.